Hello, everyone. Chip Paul here for True Medics, Neighborly Wellness, and Chip Talks podcast. So we're going to start a new feature. We're going to call this Non-Medical Monday. So you've seen a lot of doctors and stuff do Medical Monday moments and all that. We're going to call this Non-Medical Monday. Okay, and we're going to talk about the things that we talk about here at Neighborly Wellness or Neighborly Wellness. We're going to talk about pathogens. We're going to talk about infection. We're going to talk about how you configure yourself with diet. But in particular, today, we're going to talk about our new blog and podcast that just came out. So if you want to go to this blog is linked. That's the link that you're seeing down at the bottom of the screen. But the blog and the podcast series are how diet and behavior shape infection. And this is something that we're beginning to understand is, we all kind of want a one pill solution, right? So, Chip, tell me what pill I need to take. I'll take that pill and then I'll get better. Doesn't really work that way. And what we're finding is that we get, let's say, information about three major pathogens that we see indicated in people. So one would be H. pylori. H. pylori can be very severe. He's a cancer causer. He's what's responsible for pancreatic cancer, stomach cancer for the most part. He's involved with many other cancers. He's comorbid with a lot of cancers. So he's a bad guy that you don't want. And we see H. pylori indicated, let's say, in 80 to 85% of the people that we see. We see something called helminths, which are hook, round, and pinworm. And these are the things that our dogs, cows, pigs, horses, sheep, all those guys get. That's why we need to deworm them every 6 months, and we should deworm ourselves every 6 months. But we see helminths in probably 95% of the people that we see. And the last thing that we see quite frequently is something called lactobacillus acidophilus overgrowth. And this is what causes small intestine bowel overgrowth, SIBO. This can cause a lot of bad stuff, like kind of be involved with type 2 diabetes, kind of be involved with obesity. And, if you're having that last 10 or 15 pounds that you can never lose, again, you've likely got a lactobacillus acidophilus overgrowth. Once we get the overgrowth done, then you can, lose weight just like anyone else. But in this blog series, we're talking about basically how our diet and behavior shape the terrain that these guys live on. Okay, so you can think of it as like a garden. And if you till your garden for a certain kind of bacteria or a certain kind of infection profile, that's exactly what's going to happen. And it turns out that this lactobacillus acidophilus and H. pylori and helminths all like fermentable carbohydrates. Okay. So they all like vegetables. So if you eat a lot of vegetables, and you feel like you're doing the right thing, man, I'm doing the right thing. I'm eating all my vegetables. I'm eating a lot of, let's say, firm, high fiber vegetables. That should be good for me. No, not if you have these three bugs. And in fact, it's way easier to digest a carbohydrate. So kind of what you're left with a carbohydrate is sugar, glucose, and those basically fibers that can be fermented on. That's just the perfect substrate for these guys. They love the sugar and they love the fermentable fibers. And that just gives them a nice, beautiful garden to grow in. Okay. To that. So we might be, coming in and track garden with some supplements and mess up that infection. If you're still tilling the garden, again, you're just going to get right back to where you were. So we are recommending a more keto type diet with what we're beginning to suggest to people. And there's a way to do keto without eating meat. So, again, there's a way to kind of do this high protein, high fat. And we've got some guidance in this blog on basically how to do that. There's a downloadable thing on right here. Basically a guide that'll give you a little bit of some food guidance on what to do if you have H. pylori or lactobacillus. And again, this is pretty good guidance anyway. What we want to do is get our stomach acid up. And the easiest way to get your stomach acid up is eat meat or eat protein. Okay, so let me walk you through this blog a little bit because there's a lot here. So again, there's a blog summary. There's the blog itself. We're selling bundles here. So we're beginning to sell our bundles in kind of cogent ways that we know that people will need them. So this bundle right here with Deworm, Gut Restore, and our new Metabolic Balance, and our Cleanse product, really good gut health bundle right there. So, and a really good value on it. And then be sure you listen to this episode of Chip Talks podcast, because it's all about these three pathogens that we see and kind of, why we see them come back and things that you can do to basically help yourself get better faster. And again, your body is what heals here. We're just kind of supplementing into the processes and systems. And so the more that you can play along, let's say, the quicker that you're going to get better and the quicker that you're going to feel better and see results from not just our products, but from your own behavior. So anyway, we'll leave it there for today. Join us next Monday for another non-medical minute. We'll be back with more interesting information around the podcast and around what blogs we're putting out. Anyway, we'll see you guys. Bye-bye.